Hello and welcome. We'll give it a few minutes before we actually get started. Hi, Patrick. We'll give it 2 more minutes, then we'll jump in. Hey, Patrick. Great to see you. Well, it looks like it might just be the three of us today, and if anyone joins in, we'll try to catch them up. But we do record the session so that we can post it afterwards too, so everyone can access it. Thanks for coming to today's informational session about Expert Pairings project. We do hope that you will submit your applications. My name is Liz Helfer. I'm the Public Arts and Culture Planner for Watertown. Hello. Um, so what I'm going to do, it's a pretty brief agenda. We're just going to run through what the application looks like and talk through all the different parts of the application and the project itself, the description. Then you'll have a chance to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer everything that you need to know. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share screen. And then here's where I hope I opened up all the right stuff. Hold on. All right. Just close that real quick and we will try this one. Yep. Here we are. You guys seeing this page on the Watertown City website?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So what I will do is I'm gonna take this link and also pop it in the chat so you have it directly, but you've probably gotten there already since you know about this info session. This is on the city website. If you come to the landing page of watertown-ma.gov, you can navigate to we're a few pages down. Government, community development, and planning, and then you'll have I'll just do it. And then you're going to scroll down till you get to public arts and culture, and bam. And you'll find all the different things related to public arts and culture in Watertown here. And you can navigate through these to our public arts initiative where it will also be listed. But if you just scroll down the landing page, it's listed here too. So call for artists and scientists, expert pairings, And the application, as it says, is open until September 15th, so you do have some time. Okay, we're just going to click on this. And then you'll see that this actually has a few different applications listed here that are open currently through community development planning. But if we click on expert pairings, that's where we're going to see the full description. Okay, so I know some of you have heard of Edible Watertown before, but this is a larger project that is a project of the Public Arts and Culture Committee, which I'm very pleased to staff. It's a pretty wonderful group of 9 residents who are all arts experts in their own way. And they developed this project called Edible Watertown that explores our local environment through community engagement and the artistic and scientific exploration of edible plants and local ecology in Watertown. It's really been a lot of fun over the past couple of years, and we're really excited to launch this iteration of the project. The mission statement, I'll read it out loud just so I don't screw it up. Edible Watertown aims to uplift the importance of local flora and their ecosystems to connect people with the environment right outside their door. And the community connections created by this local movement in response to global issues of climate change will encourage us all to be better stewards of the environment and increase recognition of the known natural gifts in our community. So it's a pretty, I think, exciting mission statement that pairs a lot of things that Watertown's very passionate about, including our resilience plan, our environmental resilience plan, if you're not familiar with it. And then expert pairings, this part of the project, invites artists and scientists to explore the ecology of Watertown and collaborate on temporary public artwork. So you can apply either individually and hope to get paired with someone that sort of suits your interests, or you can apply as a team. So if you know somebody that you would like to work with, either you're a scientist who want to work with an artist, or an artist and you already know a scientist you'd like to work with, you can apply together. You can also apply as the lead for an organization or a group. So if you're like part of an artist collective and you're like, well, I think the Lit Squad should all just be involved, and you will be the representative for that group, let's say. Or if you're a scientist and you have a team of people that you like to work with already, you might apply as the lead scientist. That way, we're calling it the pairings. That way we know who the 2 primaries are for each group, okay? And again, you can apply either as the lead for your group or as 2 groups collaborating or group collaborating with an individual. All of these situations work. Okay. So the goal of expert pairings, which is a little bit different for some of the past projects of Edible Watertown, is to expand the range of public outdoors in the city and provide education about edible plants and related ecology that can be expanded into school and public garden curriculum. The goal is that all of the final public art works, whether they be semi-permanent in nature, whether they're performance-based, super temporal, whether they are like community activation, that they occur outdoors in a public space. They could occur indoors also, but we are really looking at some other outdoor spaces in the city. And what we're not doing at this point is asking for a proposal. What we're doing is we're asking you to submit your qualifications in the application. So you can create a temporary public artwork for outdoor locations in Watertown. If you have something in mind, awesome. If you don't, no problem. We've got a list of spots for people to consider if you're selected. 4 selected pairings will be awarded $1,000 to develop their public art project, which means that that's the proposal period. That's developing what you want to do in partnership with whoever you're working with. And you'll have $1,000 to come up with that plan, that proposal. You have to, if selected, the pair will present their final project proposal with the dates and locations for their public artwork to the Public Arts and Culture Committee in February of 2025. It will have to be approved. So it means that like you're going to be checking in with me if you're selected in order to ensure that like we have the right permits in place. It's all feasible. It makes sense for the location, for the timing, etc. Just to make sure that the project can go off without a hitch. We'll work very closely together to make sure that it can happen if you're selected. We want to see these ideas come to life. We're very excited for that. So that there will be a proposal or a proposal presentation that will occur at the monthly meeting for the Public Arts and Culture Committee. It's a really fun group, so nothing to be afraid of there. But with final approval, the pairs will receive $4,000 to implement their project between March 2025 and April 2026. So there's actually over a year long. So if it's something that occurs in iterations or it's something that is going to be like semi-permanent, maybe it's up, if you're creating sculptural work, maybe it's up for 3 or 4 months or even 10 months. Um, and then upon final project implementation, the pairs will receive the final payment, the 50% of the artist fee, which is $4,000. So it's a total of $9,000 over the course of the project through the proposal period to the finish line. Any questions about that so far? Okay.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
one, Liz, just to confirm what you had said was going to be possible in the application process. Uh, I had approached you with the thought that
Mhm.
I could find an artist partner and
Mhm.
team up with that person, but uh, assuming that you have the last word on qualifications, I might find that my horse has been shot from under me, and I'm uh, alone in the application wilderness again.
Mhm.
Uh, I think what you had said at the time was that it would be possible for me to apply as an individual scientist, as well as um, the leader of a.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. Let me say that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to repeat that response that I gave you out loud here. It's that if you want to apply with a team or in a pair, go for it. If you also want to be considered individually, let's say that you think you're strong enough candidate on your own, you also want to apply individually, also do that. You can apply separately in those two different capacities. However, what we won't do in the selection process, and when I say we, it means that like I'm not making any final decisions, but I know in the selection criteria, if you apply as a pair, you'll be selected as a pair. If you won't be broken up and then selected individually from that pair, if that's a consideration. So if you want to be considered individually, also submit a second application with that.
okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
About the actual project ideas,
Hmm.
have you no preconceptions about the nature of each project, or are you allowing that to be completely free, at least for the first go round, before you have a say in the matter?
We're letting it be mostly free. So when submitting your qualifications, and we are going to take a look at the application just so you can see it, would definitely recommend submitting examples of previous work that relates to the style of work you'd like to do.
Okay.
So let's say you're a multimedia artist and you do painting and you do sculpture and you do printmaking. If you're really interested in like doing printmaking for this project, I would really hone in on submitting samples of previous work that are printmaking so that the selection committee has a very clear understanding of your vision and what you've done before that tells them that you know how to do what you might be thinking about. There is a question and it's optional to say, here's a little bit of what I'm thinking about in the application. You do not have to come in with a fully fledged idea. In fact, you don't have to come in with an idea at all. You can just say, here's me. What do you think?
Uh, but it seems to me that if it's a public project,
Hmm.
locations are likely to be public, are they not?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
a library or
Hmm.
a
Or a
park,
park, or yeah.
but you have no focal points that you'd like to highlight. For instance, if Saltonstall Park is about to be redeveloped or
Yeah.
Arsenal Park is being developed, uh, is there any advantage for the applicants to consider such places?
Um, I wouldn't say there's any specific advantage. If you know a location that you're super interested in and you know why you're interested in it and you want to speak to that reason, that can be very helpful, but it's not going to really affect the selection process at this point.
Okay.
Um, I mean, it might be a little strange if like 10 applications said, we all want to use Saltonstall Park. And it'd be like, well, okay, interesting. Maybe we need to narrow that down, but I don't see that happening. And I also, if you have something specific, you're like, I want to look at the clovers that are in the Saltonstall Park, that might be something to focus on. But right now, the location isn't going to matter as much as submitting very strong previous work
Okay.
for review. Okay. So let's just talk about eligibility really quickly. Oh, actually, no, I want to talk about, I did talk about submitting as an individual or as a lead for a team or in a partnership as a lead or as an individual. But I do want to say that for scientists, this committee is very used to reviewing artwork across many disciplines, writing and visual arts, performance arts, etc. However, not super not as versed in reviewing work from scientists. And so we'll be asking some folks to gesture with them to review applications from scientists. Um, that being said, we know that there are folks who are, this is their job, their profession, that they are scientists in what they do. And we're also encouraging citizen scientists to apply. So if you have an interest in botany or in pollinators or ecosystems in general, or environmental science, or anything else I'm not thinking of in this exact moment, we definitely encourage citizen scientists to apply, even if it's not your vocation. Okay. If you are both a scientist and an artist, please indicate which role you'd like to be considered for. In this way, you can also apply twice. If you're like, I want to be considered as an artist, but I'd also like to be considered as a scientist. And you could go either way. Submit two separate applications. That way we can review that work separately. Okay. In terms of eligibility, we encourage everyone to apply. There's no geographic requirement. You don't have to live in Watertown. However, you will end up having to create a public artwork in Watertown, so proximity might be a factor. There will be no travel stipends for this project. The fees that have been stated at the beginning of this are the fees for this project that total $9,000. Later incomplete applications will not be considered, and applications from City of Watertown employees cannot be considered either. Okay. Let's talk quickly about the timeline, and then we're going to take a look at the actual application. Any questions so far? We're moving through, okay. Well, we launched the call back in June, yay. And we're doing the virtual information session right now. I put it as a 2-hour session. How interesting. The call will close on September 15th at midnight, or a minute before midnight. But any applications that are submitted after that point will not be reviewed. There's usually like a little bit of a gap between when it shuts down and when it actually shuts down. The artists and expert applications will be reviewed by the committee between September 16th and the 22nd. They'll be meeting on the 23rd to do their final selection. And then the artists and experts will be notified. You'll be getting an email from me. And then November 1st, the project development will begin, November 1st. And then there'll be monthly check-ins with myself for whoever is selected to keep working on that proposal and ensure feasibility and get ready for that proposal presentation. And then the presentations will happen in February to the Public Arts and Culture Committee. There will be a feedback period just to confirm in case they have any notes for the projects to make sure that they are completely workable. And then there will be the project implementation, which is the most exciting part, we hope. Okay, and how to apply. So can apply online, certainly the easiest way. If you cannot or do not want to apply online, you will need to include all of these materials here: your name, contact information, email, phone number, address. Contact information, I think, covers this, but website is optional. Social media handles are optional. We encourage you to include them if they are relevant to your work. If it's just your Instagram account, we don't need it. Your personal, I mean. Then about you for artists, you should include an artist statement, an artist bio, or a combination of the two if you do like to put them together. For scientists, we want to know a bio, a statement of work, so we know understand what field you're working in, or a combination if you, again, like to mesh the two. A resume is optional. But we don't want our CVs. They won't be reviewed past the first 2 pages. But if you'd like to include up to a 2-page resume, that's excellent. But it is also optional. We recognize that that can be a barrier. And then 1 to 3 recent work samples. When we say recent, we're leaving it up to you. 10 years might be a little old, depends. 5 years might be pushing it too, but in the past 5 years, we consider that fairly recent. We don't want to put a hard line on it because sometimes people have great work and haven't had the opportunity to create another work of the same nature in the most recent time period. Um, and then we also want to get a description of intent that talks about if you're a team, how you like how you work together or how you plan to work together. For individuals, how you like to collaborate. And then we also want to know how expert pairings project relates to your own work. So if you're this is like why you're applying to this project in particular. And then the style or genre of artwork you anticipate doing if selected. So this is where that statement of the genre or style that you like to work in or the topics that you like to work in should probably align with the work samples that you submit. Okay. Um, the statements about how you plan to work together or your style of collaboration are going to be really important for the selection committee to determine for individuals in particular how they're going to probably align people or match people for this project if you're submitting individually. So really think about, do I like to talk by email every day? Do I prefer phone calls? Do I want to meet in person? What is my style? How am I someone who wants constant communication or asks a lot of questions? Or do I like to sometimes follow the lead and get down to the nitty-gritty grunt work business? Really think about what your style is and include that here if you have done that type of personal discovery. Okay. Okay, and then selection process. So the review committee or jury will be the Public Arts and Culture Committee, a representative from Watertown Community Gardens, and we're hoping to have the Watertown Math and Science Curriculum Coordinator also chime in, and a representative from the Conservation Commission. So we are getting that scientific review, a little more rigorous than Public Arts and Culture Committee on its own. If you have questions outside of this session, you can always reach me by email at ehelfer@watertown-ma.gov or by phone at 617-972-6417, and my extension is 12167. Okay, and we're at the virtual information session, so well done. Okay, let's take a look at this application. Oops, gotta log in. There we go. So if you have not used OpenGov before, which is this platform, we use it for all our permitting processes and for our calls for art for the city. You're going to have to create your basically an identifying account that will link if you submit for a permit or an application in the future, it will all link back to your account. So you have to include your contact information. Here I am, planning office, 3rd floor, in case you need to find me in the building. All right. I'm going to confirm that, hit next. You always have the option to save your draft and exit. So if you can always come back and keep working on it. So here's where we're getting into the questions. I'm going to select each of these in turn so you have a sense of what they look like. So it will change the question options. So I'm going to apply as an individual. I am an artist, or I should put a scientist. I'll start with artist. I can put in a website, social media links, anything that's starred is required. No star on these because they are optional. Describe your area of expertise. For artists, describe your genre or preferred mediums. Dance, spoken word, acrylic paint, for example. For scientists, please describe your field of training or affinity. And then your artist statement and bio. You can include them both here or combined. Okay. How does the Expert Pairings Project and by extension the Edible Watertown Project relate to your own work? That's that question about, why this one? Okay, and you can always learn more about the Edible Watertown Project as a whole. There's a page for it, and I'll navigate to that in a moment. What style or genre of artwork do you anticipate doing if selected for Expert Pairings? It is okay not to know at this time, in which case you can just put, I don't know. But if you do know, please include it here. This will be a really helpful piece of information if you do have it. All right, I am going to just pop in some stuff. Don't do this in your application. It won't go well. Hit next. And then you come to the attachments. So this will change depending on what you've selected, if you're an individual or a team or an artist or a scientist. Um, well, it'll only change a little bit. So work sample 1, you have to include at least 1 work sample, up to 3. Okay. And they need to be in PDF, JPEG, or PNG format. If you will be able to upload other formats, we will not be able to view them. So please only include those formats. We don't have a way to actually change the program to not allow that, the other formats. It just doesn't read properly. So please, 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 please just use these. We won't be following up to request other versions of images. Okay. Um, and then your work sample list. So for all work samples submitted, if identifying information is not included in the work sample, so for information, for example, if you include a PDF, you're welcome to have like your image on one page and then all of the identifying information, like it's a 32 by 24 painting and it's acrylic and it was made in 2013. You can put all of that on in the same PDF if you'd like, or you can put it with the image. But if you'd like to keep it separate, please upload it work sample list. Okay. I'm not going to upload anything because the next thing will just ask you to confirm. What I'm going to do though is go back. Let's take a look at what these other versions look like. So individual, I'm going to change this to scientist really quickly. It actually doesn't change too much. Genre. I should have changed that question, but that's okay. I think it's still answerable. So let's change it to partnership or the lead applicant for a group collective. Okay. I'm applying as a partnership, in which case you'll include both the artist's name and the scientist's name. Please include full names here, first and last. Website, social media links, and then including each area of expertise here, artist statement and bio, scientist statement and bio. We have collaborated before, yes or no? And we put yes. Let me see if it doesn't change it. And then it's the same questions. Okay. And then it actually shouldn't, oops, I went too far. Swiped. Okay. And let's take a quick look as the lead applicant. So lead artist name, lead scientist name. You'll notice that these are not asterisks. These are not required here because you can either be putting in for a lead artist or a lead scientist, or you can include both here. Okay. Group of the work of the group or collective. That is the only real change. Just including that you'll probably have a mission statement for your group or some sort of statement of purpose, most likely. Okay. And it will require, let me just make sure really quickly. And again, it only requires although in the partnerships, it only requires you to submit 1 work sample as a minimum. We really would encourage you to submit at least 1 for both the scientists and the artists. Okay. But it's not required. So let's say you've collaborated before and this is the project you want to use as an example, that's totally fine. So we don't want to require it, but we definitely encourage you, particularly if you have not worked together before on a project that marries your 2 styles of working, to include individual samples for each of those folks. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. I'm going to stop share really quickly. And then I am also going to navigate to the page for Edible Watertown, just so we can talk about the project broadly, so you understand the themes, which we did read the statement, but just in case. And Patrick, I know you're very familiar with Edible Watertown, so we can ask you questions too. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again really quickly just to share this about Edible Watertown. So Expert Pairings is the latest iteration of Edible Watertown. This was actually the first project of the Public Arts and Culture Committee after it got started in late 2021. It was a pretty fresh committee for the city. We're really thrilled to have it. And you'll see it's the same statement at the beginning here. And this project is generously supported through grants, through funding from the city, and also through a National Endowment for the Arts award, which we're really pleased to get. in the past, in 2023, and we're actually wrapping it this year, we implemented the planting program, which is a partnership with the Watertown School Gardens and Watertown Community Gardens, and it creates a summer internship program in the school gardens that also highlights the use of creative practice for environmental learning. And then the second year of that internship is ongoing right now. It started this week. We're really thrilled. It takes 10 local, there are middle school and high school students, and they go through a 6-week training in the garden, and they learn a bunch of different skills. Is really a lot of fun. And also, we've been doing a garden talk series, which includes a lot of really wonderful experts in their field for ecology. There we go. And we've commissioned artwork for garden signage. These are actually all at the school gardens. These are beautiful works by local artists. And we've done the Edible Plants Project, which Patrick has been a part of, which just wrapped its second year this spring. And it takes locally growing wild plants and has artists both visually represent them and this past year create writing about them, Patrick. Really wonderful writing about them. And it goes on a rotating exhibit throughout the city. And
I
is
have to
accompanied
point
by a
out
really
that
lovely catalog.
I have to remind you that it might be useful for Jamie if she's not familiar with um, the Edible Watertown Project. Uh, the name is somewhat misleading in
A
that
little bit.
the examples like comfrey are not recommended for anyone to ingest. Otherwise, they have some use. Uh, so uh, uh, and as I've suggested, a more appropriate title for the project in the future might be Natural Watertown, where we're
Yeah.
encouraging people to look at everything, whether edible or not,
Mhm.
animal, vegetable, mineral. It wouldn't rule any of that out.
That was a very
I'm
fair
sorry,
point.
so I'm interrupting here.
No, I love it. It's a very fair point. And we do put the disclaimer that please don't ingest any of the plants listed here because all the ones that are have been part of the Edible Plants Project have all historically thought to be or have
Yeah.
been thought to be edible, even if they're not considered it now. And that's part of why they're included, is sort of debunking those myths of edibility, which is an exciting thing to do.
Well, it was a discovery on my part too.
Yeah. All right, let me stop share. Any questions? You answered all your questions. Amazing.
Is this, sorry, I just want to double check my microphone is working. For these submissions, when you're submitting your PDFs, I did a series of work for my thesis BFA on invasive plants in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so I had to also create a book documenting my process. Is that too much to submit the book PDF?
Um, I don't think so. I think that'd be excellent. I think the review committee would love to see it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great. Excellent. No, I think that's a really exciting format to share with
It's
them too.
it's like 54 pages though. So like I also want
I think
to
that's okay.
acknowledge like that's long.
If you felt like you had an excerpt that like is really representative of it, then you feel,
Okay.
because if you feel it's too long, I doubt they will read the whole 54 pages unless it's mostly pictures.
It is mostly pictures. It is mostly
Okay.
pictures and then some like information about the 3 plants that I used. I made paper using the plants and then did block printing of those plants on the paper that they're made out of. So
I don't
as
know. I
a
think that might be
series.
very illustrative of your process and worthy of inclusion in its entirety, perhaps. So I
Okay,
think that's really up to you,
great.
with the caveat of knowing that, well, maybe not knowing, but often in review processes,
Hmm.
it won't all get read.
That's fine.
Okay.
But as a series of work, I just wasn't sure if that would be something that should be included as a single piece because there are 6, or if I
I
should
think
just be
that's
choosing
fine.
like the best ones. Okay,
I think it's fine to include it as a single piece
okay,
if
great.
you so choose. Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Yeah, it is always sort of at your discretion, but I think this will be just fine. Okay. Well, great. Now I would love to know if you would humor me. I know we're being recorded, so don't feel put on the spot. But Patrick, are you going, and Jamie, are you applying individually, or do you have someone you're thinking of collaborating with, or a group?
Uh, both. But I must confess that my first emotional response to your request for a proposal uh, it turned me immediately to an old classmate of mine from the high school days, class of '59,
Wow.
who has turned out in future life to be artistically inclined, and who just struck me as being a kind of a sentimental favorite without considering anything more than just that fact that we knew one another and it was a chance to get together for old time's sake. Uh, but then I began to wonder, well, maybe I'm not a connoisseur of art. I'm not on your committee to judge the eligibility, the quality of the work. And I didn't want to rule myself out just because of some emotional, immediate impulse, which it was, and it still is. So I thought I should have a fallback position, applying as an individual, just so that you have the benefit of what I have to offer on its
Okay.
own.
It feels like a tactical move. I like it.
Yes, very, very. I'm glad that you're open to that.
Oh, very.
I'll be applying as an individual. I don't have any scientist friends who are necessarily falling into this realm of
Mhm.
study. So it's like
In the very
biomedical
hard
engineering.
sciences.
Yeah, biomedical engineering
Ah,
isn't really the same thing. So no, I'll be applying as an individual.
very exciting. Now we one of the things we were like when developing the call that the committee was really interested in is like how do we navigate this and what do we think that the breakdown will be, and it'll be really interesting to see, and I'm very excited to see all the different applications. I will see all the applications. I will not actually be reviewing any of them. I just prepare them for review. So.
Have you seen any additional interest before this meeting, like through email or anything? Has anyone else reached out to
Oh,
you about
yes. We've
this?
had actually a few applications already. And yes, there's been some really good interest. We also know that the timeline to actual application deadline is fairly long. So until September 15th. So if you do see anyone who you think would be an excellent fit, encourage them to apply. We'll be continually putting it out there to try and see how many folks we can get encouraged to do something exciting for public art. Um,
Great. And how many teams are you looking to choose? I'm sorry, I think
four.
four. Okay.
Four. There'll be 4 teams in total. Yep. So we do anticipate it'll be a tight selection process. Yep. Well, great. Uh, so if you have any questions, you can always email me, or I'm not in the office. I actually got COVID on my way back, but from a trip. So I am working from home, but I should be back in the office next week. So if you need to reach me, you can call, but I'm always available by email, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And if you get stumped on anything in the application, please reach out. Or if you have any other questions about anything related to this, or even just arts in Watertown, I'm happy to help. Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you,
Great to
Lily.
meet you. Bye-bye.